It's a Friday morning. Nordo in for PA. And it's a football feast. There's a potpourri-style bent to this thing, and we'll get to the TimberTech set list momentarily. Hockey in the mix today. 11 o'clock, we're going to check in with Johnny Krasinski and dip into the Howl, who have won 3 straight after that 5L malaise that we had to go through a week and change ago. Jaden McDaniels can't miss from deep. Anthony Edwards said, I'm done with this, basically from tip-off, as the Wolves beat the OKC Thunder last evening. Kind of a double feature in studio now. Chad Greenway, weekly guest, 9 to noon. Are you a channel flipper or a multi-view, multi-TV Minnesota sports viewer with the double feature last night?
Yeah, I always go towards the basketball game. Sorry, hockey fans. I don't get into it. I don't have any hockey.
You had weak ankles as a kid.
Weak ankles.
Well documented. Couldn't skate.
Lower back's tough. Yep. Weak ankles. No stick handles. Absolutely zero handles. I can barely skate for the love of Pete. It's amazing that I grew up 4+ hours from here.
Yeah.
In a really cold spot, and there wasn't hockey within 80 miles of me. Isn't that a little weird? It just shows you the Minnesota culture, the hockey culture, kind of what it's all about. Yeah. I mean, the Dakotas, for the most part, I mean, when I was growing up, way back when 90s to early 2000s, there was very little hockey. Now, of course, it's popping up like crazy. Sioux Falls has got a pretty good little thing going down there. And
is that the nature of the topography or the landscape of South Dakota? Now we know it's flat. Yeah. But I'm not familiar with the pond situation or the lake situation in Sodak.
We got the old Missouri River running through there, but that's about all we got. Not a whole lot of ponds. What we have in the farm is all the old dugouts for the cows to go drink.
Yeah.
That'd be about where we would actually go skate on those.
Oh, you could?
Growing up. Absolutely.
Yeah. Those would freeze all the way through, wouldn't they? Over the course of a long winter?
No, almost. Not all the way through.
Oh, they're deep. Okay,
yeah, they'd be deep enough. Yeah, that way so the cows can drink it.
Listen to me asking you about farmer stuff.
You get the sledgehammer and the axe. You go out there and you break a hole in the ice for the cows to drink, and then you go skate.
Oh, that's sweet.
And that's but we didn't. There's no. I mean, I bet I had.
That's how tough guys are built.
I didn't hold a hockey stick until I was 24. Just a weird deal. But either way, point being. I'm not a multi-view guy. I'm a channel flipper guy, and I've been really enjoying watching the Wolves. Watched them live a couple nights ago. That was fun. First time I've been live in the house against the Warriors. That was sweet. And then watched last night. Last night was just dominant. I mean, the way we shot the ball, the way Jaden shot the ball was impressive. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to watching NBA basketball, I love when a team just gives full effort. I love when you're playing hard, you're playing fast defensively. And last night was. If we can play that way all the time, we're going to be hard to beat.
Well, but that is kind of the conversation with this team. Now, I assume, just 16 games and now 17, that wasn't a frequent or oft discussed topic in terms of, hey, if just this week we can give our full effort, guys.
Right.
It's almost been a stereotype or a common trope, if you will, with the NBA, where it's 82 games, it's long nights. Some Tuesday night in December, are we really giving it our all? And we know we got this cool road trip coming around. We're going to be hanging out down in South Beach for 2 days. I care more about that than getting over the hump. And in the end, we'll still find our way into the playoffs. And that has been kind of a common theme with the Wolves at time over the last few seasons where, Wednesday night at home when the Wizards are in town, maybe they don't give it all.
Right.
But then they'll stand tall when they face up against one of the Western Conference big timers. That's probably never a conversation in the sport of football, is it?
No, I mean, I can remember when rest his soul, Flip Saunders would come to our training camp. One of the best, I think one of the best, better coaches in Minnesota sports history, the Wolves, and had some good runs, and I think very well respected. He would come to training camp. They have a training camp in the NBA, and they're grinding through practices. It's just a different mentality when you gotta go out there and hit each other and be physical and deal with bumps and bruises and nicks and all the stuff you deal with in football. He's sitting on the sidelines watching us practice, like midway through our training camp in Mankato. He's just like, I don't know how you guys do this.
Yeah.
We would have a bunch of guys tapping out. No, it's just a different mentality, different sport mindset. But the reality is you go watch those NBA games, even at the Warriors, the second half of that Warriors back to back. I mean, even when they're giving like 90%, it's the most impressive athletes in probably the world. I mean, these guys are incredible. And, Julius Randle, if he's not playing there, he's playing left tackle somewhere. My gosh, that guy's got some feet. Just impressive. But when you only have 16 or 17 games, you drop one or two I mean, your season is diabolically on the edge, and you can play in 82. You can afford to give up one or two here or there and still be in a good spot. And it's just a different mentality of the league, the games, the amount of competitions. We just have so much in between the games with practices and preparation that they don't deal with. They're not dealing with that. They're dealing with shoot-arounds and of course, of travel. But it comes down to game day. I mean, it's impressive stuff.
You want Giannis, don't you?
I'm in between on that, man. I'm not a massive fan of Giannis's game.
Okay.
To be honest. Seeing the names getting thrown around and what is going to be required to go get him. And again, I do agree, organizations in Minnesota, when you have a chance and you have a stud like Ant, you have a team around him right now, this is win now mentality. And we're on the doorstep. Is this the guy that gets us over the top? I think every fan would appreciate an owner taking a swing.
Right.
So I think from a fan perspective, on an owner taking a swing and saying, this is the way we go get a title and bring it home and end that drought, I appreciate that. I don't know if he's the answer, and I don't know how much I want to take the ball out of Ant's hands and put it in Giannis's hands, like it would probably happen in some cases. But I just don't love that. You see Nas's name getting thrown in there, McDaniel's name getting thrown in there, guys that are beloved, that are really good players, that are long-term pieces to this team, you hope. But again, without knowing the ins and outs and what it's going to take and require, I mean, what the names getting thrown around, I don't love it, to be honest.
Well, I was driving in, and eventually we'll get to football, but it just this was on my mind, and just watching the team last night, and when they are push button and that button's down, I mean, it's as good as it gets in the NBA. But I was driving in, and I heard Marnie and the gang on the power trip talking about this, and it didn't really click with me immediately, but we kind of play fantasy hoops in the same way we play fantasy football or anything, where you just plug pieces in and you anticipate that it's going to work. And Giannis is a huge name, and he's earned that equity, certainly. But if you're Anthony Edwards, and how much does it matter that he gets to play with his boys? How much does chemistry matter in the equation where Jaden McDaniels, one of his favorite people on the planet, if you were to move him as part of this deal, how much does chemistry matter? And you have to factor that in with Anthony Edwards. You don't care if it's the ninth guy on the bench. We'll have a conversation about it. You care about the guy, but we got to do this for a business. Anthony Edwards, in some ways, I think that chemistry aspect has a say in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're on the road as much as those teams are, when you're traveling, you're on flights, you're in hotels, you're spending time, that chemistry matters a lot, because that's when you're spending most of the time with the guys. You don't want somebody to come in there, infiltrate that team, and blow it up. And now all of a sudden, what's going to look like when Giannis comes in, you got multiple massive superstars fighting for the ball and the opportunity. And also, what are we going to do defensively? What are we going to do? Now, I know it fits the Conley mold of the size, the length. You pair him up with some of the other guys we have on this roster. Depends on who stays if we do go down that path. What's he going to do to us defensively? I mean, there's just a lot of things. And also, what's the long-term play here? Because at the end of the day, you do have a situation where you're like, okay, how many years is he going to be good? What are we going to get him for? Is this how short-term is this deal? Is this a new deal coming his way? How much money is he going to take? All the stuff you have to ask yourself. There's probably information out there that I have not read. But point being is, culture matters a lot in winning. When you see them buckle down last night, Jaden McDaniels hits 4 or 5 threes and plays defense like he does, it's really hard for me to look and say, hey, we got to move that guy.
Right.
And then, oh, by the way, the guy that we're never going to move or hopefully never have to lose or move, Ant, he's his right-hand guy. That's a tough look. And I think it would impact the team, would be the best way to put it.
Yeah, it certainly would. So, we'll watch out for that. The last time we saw you, there were NFC and AFC title games to be played. They have since been played.
Yes.
It is the Seahawks and the Patriots. A rematch, 2014 season, I believe. We had a goal line kerfuffle. Malcolm Butler does this, and the Patriots get out alive. Completely different frame of mind into this one, though.
Nuts.
It's the guy that Vikings fans and maybe let's just say some people in Egan may have really, really wanted in the draft a couple of years ago. And then it was the guy that we had. The guy that won 14 games for us.
Unbelievable.
And then now he's on another team.
You can't make it up.
And he's finding his way to the Super Bowl. I can't speak directly to the bitterness in the hearts of some in Egan right now, but Vikings fans a little bit on fire about it over the course of the week. Where's your head at with it?
Yeah, I mean, the nature of the beast here in the NFL is you have to make a decision, and you have to. It's always easy right? For everybody who's complaining about that situation and Darnold's playing for another team, he should be for us. Is like, were you the same one complaining after that playoff loss last year? Were you the same one complaining on the goal line, struggles that he had last year at the end of the year? So many questions about him is like, why should we re-sign him? Look at when the games got tough, look what happened. Yes, he has a great regular season, but it was always that conversation. It was never glowingly like, we have to do this.
Yeah. Everybody
was tiptoeing around that thing. Is like, well, I don't know if it is. So then the GM makes a decision. We move forward with this idea of like, okay, we have this guy that I drafted. We all really excited about. If we have Darnold here that just started, went through a great season, like how's that going to help or hurt his development? Now, again, we're not in it every day. No. We're talking about it. We're hearing things. They're giving us little tidbits to read and talk about, so we don't know the ins and outs. But the reality was they weren't willing to commit, bring him in, and have him sign even a 2 or 3 year deal to bring him. Because I'm guessing he probably would have stayed under KOC and what he was getting there. So he goes out to the Seahawks team that was ready made to go win. I mean, what they've done and how they built that thing, with how they drafted last year, started on offensive line, started on the defensive back end with the safety, some studs. And then you bring in a quarterback. They just needed somebody to kind of stir the drink, and he's done that and then some. And look at young Clint Kubiak, coordinator. He was an assistant here with me and the Vikes back in the day. He's just pushing all the right buttons, and looks like he's going to be stole right now and go be a head coach for the Raiders. So you hate it, but that's the league, man. I mean, the league, you're going to move on. You can't sign everybody, and there's going to be some people out there having success, and it's okay to also be frustrated.
Yeah, and speaking again, fantasy hoops from the Giannis, you're just plugging him in, and of course that's going to work, right? You just think greatness added to greatness, and that's obviously going to work. I think a bit of that's been done over the course of this year with Sam Darnold as well. You mentioned that the Seahawks, with the way and you nailed it, by the way, with the drafting, complementing just some really smart transactions via free agency, just that mix that John Schneider put together out there in concert with Darnold, clearly, as they get set to play in Santa Clara, it's worked. But there's kind of that idea, if Sam Darnold was still here, if we had kept Sam, then maybe we are there.
Right.
That we had, and I believe by most accounts it's undeniable this team is better with Sam Darnold under center in 2025.
Impossible to not say that.
Correct. But to that end, to say that we're making a late January run, I think is also difficult to say. And I don't know how much I'm digging into a piece that Alec Lewis, who does great work for the Athletic, also regular weekly guest 9 to noon. But he had a great article a few days ago, kind of summing up the combination of the indecision and then kind of the around the quarterback spot, but then also a roster that was, quote, ready to win now.
Yeah.
Or was it? You know what I mean? So there's some weeping and gnashing of teeth about Darnold moving on, and in hindsight, we all look at that and ooh, that's a tough opinion.
Yep.
That was a tough decision right there.
Yep.
Did not work out, not liking it. But in the end, it just kind of also then kind of ignore some of the other issues where the Seahawks have drafted so incredibly well. The Vikings have had issues.
100%.
The Patriots are in the Super Bowl a little bit differently. They drafted the O-line. They got Drake May, but a lot of their work, Milton Williams and some other characters that are making plays, that was not organic. That was free agency.
Yep.
Well, we've had some misses on the free agency side too. And, it just feels like with my favorite football team that the issues kind of actually go a little bit beyond just simply whether it was Sam or somebody else.
Well, I think what you're saying, this is not, I'm a homer as the day is long, but all those decisions point back to the GM and the decision makers within the organization saying, hey,
indeed,
it's draft picks. Make or miss draft picks is massive to grow your organization from within. And we know that because if you have to go spend top dollar on these free agents and all of a sudden you have to pay a quarterback at some point, you can't continue to build. You got to build through the draft. You got to go get pieces in free agency. I think they've done a really good job on the defensive side of the ball of bringing pieces in through free agency. I think it's pretty clear to say that we built the B-flow defense for the most part that way.
Yeah.
But then how sustainable is that if you're not drafting well? And I think we've seen that. Then all of a sudden you go make, somebody had to make the decision. So unless you can, show proof that you were tweeting, we have to sign Sam. He's the man moving forward. I'm not frustrated with this loss. I'm not frustrated with his red zone, success last year at the end of the year. We need him back. Show that tweet and I'll say, yeah, I got you. You were on board. But I think we're all in that spot where like, what is the right call here? Because everybody's like looking around like, I'm glad I'm not making it.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden you do look at your roster and say, I think when the season started this past year, the question mark was what? Will the quarterback be good enough?
Right.
we looked at the roster and say, hey, we can run the football. Our O-line is our line is updated.
Yep.
Right, looking strong. Defensively, we felt really good. All of a sudden, injuries happen, things fall apart. So who knows what Darnold would have done with that situation? But the reality was, we'd have been probably better with Darnold in there. It's not. I think it's fair to say. Now, are you in the same position? Who knows? But the reality is, in football, is how many times can you get to the playoffs and give yourself a chance? That's really what it comes down to. This year we're not good enough to make it in. One game on the way out, so you don't get a chance to go play. Now, our defense was hot at the end of the year. What does that defense look like if you can just win 2 more games, get in the playoffs, and give yourself a chance? That's all you can ask for, is give yourself a shot. And you look at how these teams are built, New England and Seattle. There's no question that defensively we have to be really good. Yeah. And Seattle is there. Yes, they're good offensively. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba is ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah.
And just impossible to cover man. Can't wait to see that matchup with him and Gonzalez. I mean, it's just going to be impressive. So can't wait to see some of the talking points. But I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be well played. I still think Seattle's going to take it.
It feels like that.
Yeah.
And all the praise that has been given to Drake May is deserved.
Yeah.
And tough rookie year, but what did he get that our guy didn't get? He got those reps his rookie season. Injury took that away from McCarthy. And this year, for the most part during the regular season, and I'll kind of hear the dilution of it. Well, hang on a little bit. Played a 4th place schedule.
Yeah.
Didn't really play. The Chargers in the wild card weekend was actually the second toughest game that they had all season.
Right.
And he got through it. He hasn't been great in the playoffs. And it's a little tough that the Denver game in the snow, you kind of throw a lot of that out. But Drake, he's still learning. And it does feel like Seattle, top to bottom, just maybe a little more complete, a little more mature at this stage. I mean, maybe to get it done.
You hate to say luck, right? But matchups, and again, they put themselves in that situation to get the right matchups at home and then go on the road, and you play a Denver team that was looking really good until injury hit. So that's a lot of that's just unlucky for Broncos fans and luck for Patriots fans. You walk in that situation and quite honestly played awful and won that game.
Yep.
And you play good enough to win, say, hey, we're going to punt it to you again, and I guarantee you he's not going to beat us. And that's exactly the situation. You're not doing that with Bo Nix. You're playing the game differently, and you have to believe, looking back at that, the Broncos should have probably taken the field goal when the snow was not falling. You need to have your assistant to the head coach know the weather patterns and what's coming. That's got to be an option in Denver.
Well, it's kind of funny. I'm going to talk with Gorgie at 10 o'clock. And Gorgie, of course, he's Minnesota Wild Network's finest and does terrific work for them. But he's also a diehard Broncos fan. And you have Sean Payton firing the OC and kind of going scorched earth. A little bit of seasons over tantrum throwing. Which, I mean, I'm sure everybody here is just shocked that Sean Payton's
it's a look at me. I'm going to keep my job, so I'm going to go fire somebody else's.
Speaking of, coordinators or position coaches more specifically, how, in the frame of position groups and position rooms, so Flores is going to be, he's coming back.
Yep.
They got McCarthy in Pittsburgh now, and McCarthy and Flores is our guy. But in terms of the linebackers coach versus the coordinator. And maybe it's unique for a large part of your time here, specifically with Zimmer, where Zimmer as the head coach probably has some specific duties globally that pulls him out of the complete hands-on approach. But coordinator versus position coach, when you were playing, how vital was that relationship with specifically linebackers coach, inside or outside, and some of those specific position-oriented guys? Yeah,
and it's in the stuff that you don't see necessarily as a player all the time. In those meetings when they're building a game plan and they're giving their input, and here's what I see, and here's what I saw on tape, and here's how I think we can win. Inevitably, it comes down to a decision maker. So Zimmer, yes, he gets pulled here and he gets pulled there. So George Edwards is running those meetings. He was the defensive coordinator, but he wasn't making the play calls. You have Adam Zimmer, and there's the linebacker coach during the Zimmer years. Fred Puggett for 8 years under the years with Childress and the years with Frazier.
Yeah.
A guy who's really experienced, has a long tenure in the NFL, has won a Super Bowl. He has a lot more input on what we want to do in the game plan and the why. And when it comes down to it, then you're out of practice. And you have Zimmer sort of overseeing the whole practice, knowing what's going on offensively, looking at the play call, watching, but then defensively having much more input. He's making the play call. He's talking through things. So he's just hovering over the defensive side more, having more communication. When it was Childress on the offensive side of the ball, it was the exact opposite. We saw him in the team meeting rooms, and that was about it. And then we saw him at practice. He's not coming in. He trusted Mike Tomlin in year one for me. He trusted Leslie Frazier in the next 7 years for me. So I just think you see things a little bit differently. And each coordinator that becomes a head coach, inevitably it's typically a coordinator, they handle all those situations slightly differently. I think in every locker room, and also like. The thing with, the worst part about having really good coaches is they get poached. They get taken. So all of a sudden I trust a guy who's making my play calling. If I'm a D coordinator, or if I'm a head coach that was a D coordinator, I can trust a guy. He's my play caller. All of a sudden we do really well. What's going to happen? He's the head coach the next year. Now that guy that I really trusted for years, who's been underneath me, making play calls, making decisions, knows how I'm going to think. I can interact with him in game day, say, hey, here's what I think is going to happen. Boom. He's not going to be offended. He's going to help you make that right call. Now he's gone. Now you have a young guy you got to teach again. You see like what happens in Detroit this year with Dan Campbell. All of a sudden, I'm going to make these play calls because you ain't got it yet.
Yeah.
And you see that lack of communication. All of a sudden, now the head coach can't be the head coach. He's got to be the coordinator first. And I think that's that balance you got to find.
What was it like working under Leslie Frazier? Because it just feels like whatever spectrum exists, however broad it is, that Leslie Frazier was on one end of it and Mike Zimmer was on the other end of it. Is that fair to say?
That's very much fair to say. It was really hard to get Frazier fired up. Very methodical. You think, everybody kind of compares him to Tony Dungy, like in his speeches and his thought process and the way he thinks about things and the way he coaches. He almost is like I'm going to hold you accountable by the upset dad. Like, hey, you're disappointing me.
Not
type
mad.
Of thing. Not mad. I'm disappointed.
Wow.
And in a way, like you do, I mean, a ton of respect for him as a human being, but also as a football coach. And after he leaves us, he goes to Buffalo, has some success, does some things, and kind of creates a different path for himself. He's just a good football guy. He's a good football coach, but a completely different approach to Zimmer. Then all of a sudden, Zimmer comes in, and you're like, oh. Okay, it's like my high school coach again. I'm gonna get undressed in front of everybody and get yelled at for any little thing.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna approach accountability with directly. It's not gonna be indirect. It's gonna be I'm gonna handle it directly with you in front of your team. How are you gonna handle it? And oh, by the way, if you're a captain or a leader, I'm gonna make it even harder on you so that everybody knows and underneath to fall in line.
Right.
And in a way where he was so meticulous with every little step, every alignment, every situation that you had to be on point and you better know your stuff. And if you don't, you will be called out. But I love that piece of accountability within the team to know, like, hey, coach is on it. I got to be on it. So you better be on it.
Yeah.
And that's how you get good teams and good continuity. And those defenses with Zimmer, there's so much communication that has to happen. You have to all see the same things. So it's really important. Well,
I remember your guy Lieber talking about this. This was a long time ago, just kind of the evolution of defenses. And this says, in effect, it really doesn't have anything to do with Zimmer or Frazier, but it popped in my head. Kind of the idea that in the early 2000s, Lieber's coming up. He kind of needed to know what his responsibility was. Mm-hmm. And there were communications that evolved from that. But now, maybe even by the end of your playing days, and certainly maybe by the end of Ben's as well, he finished a bit before you. But you ended up kind of having to know what the safety's doing, what the corner's doing, and even from a defensive front standpoint, you need to know how that D tackle's going to work off the snap, and you're going to work off of what he does. And in some ways, there's almost this chain reaction.
Yeah.
And it's just gone from maybe the simplicity of see ball, get ball to certainly a much vaster array of information in your brain.
Yeah, I think you're talking a lot. And what Ben's talking about is more of the scheme and the approach, because a more simplistic zone type of scheme like the Tampa 2 cover 2 scheme is you're going to sit in your coverage and you're just going to adjust to everything they do. It's in front of you. We're sitting in zone. We're all working together in zones. Now it just changes when there's a motion, there's an alignment issue. It just changes what we do within that structure. So we're going to adjust to whatever you got. We can adjust to anything. Doesn't matter. But all of a sudden you start putting in pressures and blitzes and double A gap looks. Now you start to have all these ins and outs of like, okay, if the center's going to go to the left, because we heard the communication that he's going to go Liz or whatever his call is, we know the running back's going to go block the right side. So we're going to attack that running back and try to get a big on a little, a running back or a defensive or linebacker or a defensive end on the back. So we might flip our pressure in the time they motion or the time they come out of the huddle and they line up a certain way. Say, okay, we're gonna blitz it this way. So we make a call. All of a sudden the guy motions across. Now it completely flips.
Yeah.
And you're talking about you're watching a football game from the time a slot receiver motions from one side or the other or into the backfield. Like you're flipping the entire play audibling in a reaction to the offense. And then all of a sudden there's 15 seconds left on the play clock, and then he audibles. And then you react a different way. And I think that's the part where, from a player, I loved it because you were so engaged in every part of it, and you had a say in the play. And to me, it was a mentality of, we're going to attack you. You better be ready for what we're bringing. And all of a sudden, you make a guy think, you make a young quarterback think. All of a sudden, he doesn't see, or he thinks he sees something that he doesn't, and boom, we smack him in the back, and away we go for a sack or whatever it is. That to me was more fun, more in and out, more responsibility.
Yeah.
Much more chances to make a mistake.
Zimmer didn't handle mistakes well, did he?
No, but I think when you, as a player, not at all. And as a player, though, when you see a coach, and again, you're an NFL coach, you're putting a lot of time and effort in, but when you are willing to hold yourself to the same standard you're holding your players to and own your mistakes,
yeah.
As a player, like as a leader, I think that's how you have to be. But as a player looking up, it's like, hey, he's going to hold himself to that same standard, and he's as upset with himself as he is upset with me for missing that silly thing. Or like, if I'm not going to prepare you for this look, right? I saw this look all week. I didn't put a play call, and we saw it. It beat us. That's on me, guys. Like, to me as a player, like, I can respect that when he's going to get after me, if he's going to get after himself the same way.
Yeah, and you've talked about that several different times. And part of the reason that this kind of came up in this segment's gone the way it has is I was talking with Brett Blakemore, producing 9 to Noon, and we love him for it.
I mean, I'm not sure I love everything about what he's got going on today.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah,
you're surprised every time I wear something green and gold.
Where are you from?
He's from Iowa.
My dad's from Wisconsin. He brainwashed me. It's his fault.
I mean, think for yourself.
Madison grad too, right?
Yeah, he is.
I thought they were red. Anyway, it's ugly.
Why don't we wear red more often?
It's ugly.
Can we do that? Like I Heart Apparel or something like that? Do you get?
Yeah, that's possible.
Okay, let's work on that. No, but I was talking to him prior to the show because there's two different visions of Zim. So I'm an outsider in that I didn't play, but and things have changed, just regime to regime, if you will. I certainly don't have the communicative relationship, and that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just how the new regime works in the building. But at Winter Park, Zimmer was a guy, specifically early in my time with the Fan, I could just say, "Hey, Coach, how you doing today?"
Yeah,
and I could have conversations with Mike Zimmer. Man. And specifically down in training camp. Now he's constantly in a bad mood, but there was still the kind of the nothing's on the line vibe of Mankato back in the day. And Zimmer was so good to me.
Yeah.
And just from a conversation standpoint, I could ask him stupid questions about his defense and just football philosophy in general. Whatever you think of Zimmer was an elite football mind.
Yes, is.
And the stories and the offhand conversations were unbelievable. And so it's like there's two versions of Zimmer, and it degraded at the end. I mean, and then that's a tough spot, and then people have to move on, right? And those last two seasons were very, very tension filled, and it was negative, right?
A lot of unhappiness. Yep.
A lot of unhappiness. But I do feel like there's two different versions of Zimmer that exist somewhere in the mist, where I, even as an outsider, had a really good relationship with him and saw players gravitating to him and loving what they got from him. Sadly, before that season and those wins started to change.
Yeah, I think we can compare him even to B-Flow right now, because I think it's a very similar mindset where Flores is probably more approachable, but when you see how he coaches and how he gets into people, like at practice, like, it's high level of accountability and standards because they run a similar, not the same, but they run a very similar type of scheme where it takes a massive amount of communication, trust, and accountability. So you have to coach that hard. You have to have guys in the room that are willing to put the extra time and work in to be really good at that stuff. So I think that's where that edge comes from. Now Zimmer, especially when it came down to, public comments, media, like that's the part that really got him disgruntled, but he had to sort of that I don't know, that humor that just like you have to work around that rough brashness. Because the humor was there and you knew if he liked you or not. And I mean, listen, this guy comes in and the first thing he does is he calls me, he has the GM call me and say, "Hey, we think you're making too much money. Why don't you take a pay cut?" I mean, that's literally the first, Zimmer comes in, gets the job after we fire Zimmer. I played with this broken wrist and broken arm for 10 weeks. I'm like patting myself in the back. Look how tough I am, and you play through the season. I got 2 years left on my deal. And the first thing I hear is like, "Hey, we think you're old and you make too much money," is basically what they're saying, right? Take a pay cut. And I'm like, flipping the bird. Like, are you kidding me? And, my wife's reaction was way better. Like, I can't believe we're not even felons at this point. But the reality is I had to swallow the pride and say, hey, let me go see what this guy's all about.
Yeah.
Let's go play for this guy. And all of a sudden you draft Anthony Barr, you draft Eric Kendricks. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, that was the most fun. Like, those 3 years were so fun because it literally just reignited that flame and love for football, because all of a sudden, like, we're scheming teams. Like, we're listening for audio and understand what the center's saying. It made you think about it differently. And of course, like, growing up in old school football in South Dakota, like, when you get screamed at for anything or the farm kid is getting yelled at, I mean, I was okay with that. I love that approach. I love that accountability. And I was able to develop even better as later in my career. And then, of course, after he comes in a couple of years, like, I loved playing for the dude, even though I held this animosity for them taking a pay cut. But then, I played 11 years, got those dollars back, and away we go. Just took me an extra year to get there.
Yeah, still a tough spot.
Hey, listen, I'm a handshake guy, Nordo. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to hold up my end. Now, when the organization says, we think we should change our mind on you, it's like, okay, dude, you signed the same contract I did. That's just my mentality.
I still think that that dumb Backstreet Boys parody I did
was the best.
We re-signed Green.
Yeah.
I think that is.
And here we go.
I think that helped.
Coming right back, signed the dotted line. Away we go. Their 11th year.
Well, we'll work on whatever stipend that is required.
We just need to be able to
during the break.
I'm not sure how much money you made off that song. I'm sure a lot, but
yeah.
I think we should. That should be my intro now, just because it just makes me happy.
Okay. No, we can make that work. We'll find it. We'll come back. You found it? Oh yeah,
that didn't take long. Probably the top of the page. My recently listened to list.
Classic.
He won't retire. He's been
The vocals.
rehired. Ziggy heard me pray. We re-signed Greenway. He's back.
Oh yeah, so good. That beat drops.
Apart. One last ride, kickstart.
Oh yeah.
U.S. Bank. We re-signed Greenway. One more time. Fans always wanted him to stay. One
So
more
good.
time. Rick found some extra coin.
How do you not resign me with this?
One more time. I've waited for so long to say we re-signed Greenway.
Oh man, so good.
Troubadour, man. I mean, singer, songwriter.
You helped kickstart U.S. Bank. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, looking back now, like, being out of it 9 years, whatever it's been, crazy, is like so crazy that I would have not played in U.S. Bank. Like, to open it up, to play 1 year there, like, looking back now, like, in my career, like that was awesome.
Yeah, that was, a terrible season.
One of a few guys that probably play in all three, right? I don't know how many guys played in all three stadiums, but, you go Metrodome, obviously Harrison did, C.J. Ham did, those guys. Ham may not have.
I think Ham wasn't
Metrodome guy.
I don't think so. Was
God,
he?
Metrodome. I mean, listen, it was tight in the Metrodome. But you talk about a home field advantage.
Yeah.
I remember that Cowboys playoff win. That was ridiculous how loud that place got. Unbelievable.
Dude, that's awesome. And you did play in all three. Let's pause. I got a couple more bits for you in a short segment around the corner. But we re-signed Greenway.
Hey.
We got 11 good years out of him, no doubt about it. That's Chad Greenway in studio, kicking off a TimberTech set list brought to you by TimberTech, timbertech.com. As I mentioned, Potpourri style today, you're going to hear from Kevin Gorg at 10 o'clock. We'll chat Wild and a little NFL with Gorgie at 10. And then Wild Vox, Joe O'Donnell, the Wild, 4-1 over Calgary. How about a win in regulation for your favorite hockey team? We got that. Then at 11 o'clock, you're going to hear from John Krasinski, Johnny Athletic, Johnny K, on the Wolves, who have now won 3 straight, including basically wire-to-wire handling of OKC last night. You'll hear from Pat Micheletti in the 11, and that's all part of the TimberTech set list. It's Nordo in for PA on a Friday, and Brett Blakemore has a cash giveaway opportunity.
Yes, I do. The Fan. Let's give you a shot to win bonus bucks in the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is pay. What we did with Greenway. Pay. KFAN.com. Keyword pay.
Heard me pray. We re-signed Greenway.
We all had that one teacher who believed in us. Well, you can show your gratitude with Thank a Teacher. It's powered by Donors Choose. Nominate a public school teacher to win $5,000 to their classroom. This week's winner, Tyler Halverson, teaches at Independence Elementary School. You can nominate a teacher today iHeartRadio.com/teachers. iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. Final segment. It'll be a quickie with Chad Greenway here in studio. But I wanted to touch on. So Ron Johnson was in studio with me yesterday, and we were chatting about Coy Parrish, who of course 2 years with the Gophers, and now he's Oregon bound. And it sounds like there may be a nice little payday for him in this new universe of college sports.
Did we hear a number?
Well, I saw banning about maybe $2 million or something. I mean, 7 figures.
That one. Go ahead, finish your question before I jump on this thing.
No, interrupt me. That's cool.
Well, I was of all this moving around in college sports. I think in general, most of us don't like it. I mean, in general, like the old school mentality is like, well, I just liked amateur sports before how it was. I don't like to become a business. I don't like. There's no, if I'm a paying Gopher fan or a paying Hawkeye fan or paying whatever fan, like I'm coming in because I want people to be there. They're going to be there long term. I'm going to buy a jersey knowing they're going to be there for 4 years. Like, why is the reason you don't buy a professional sports jersey? Because they're probably going to be traded the next year and be gone. That's just your luck, right? So all of a sudden you get the hometown kid, well, not hometown, but Esco, right? Minnesota native, up north, great player, great athlete. And in some ways, I think for them to keep him here was really a stamp for PJ to say, hey, we're going to keep our best. Like, we're going to keep him here. We're going to win with them. They're going to be really good. You can go be DB of the year in the Big Ten or freshman of the year with the Gophers.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you see this kid bounce. And again, it's not an indictment on him. I mean, you can be as mad as you want. But the reality is, in somebody waves $2 million, let's just say that's the number. We don't know what the real number is. But let's just say it's $2 million. That is life-changing and altering money. Now, I'm not sure what the Gophers were offering. I'm sure there was definitely a significant offer or re-offer. So, like, you're looking at that situation. I don't like it. But at the same time, it's reality. So you're going to look at him and be like, are you going to not go take those dollars when you may not play in the NFL? You have Coy's a very good player and hopefully has a long career. I'm rooting for that, but you don't know. Right. You don't know about injury. You don't know about just ability. Like, there's a lot of great college players that don't translate to the league and make a bunch of money. So how are you going to fault him for trying to go scoop the chips right now?
Yeah. I'm glad. So there's two. It's legacy and it's livelihood, man.
Yeah.
Like we think about and we romanticize it and I bet, probably a little bit differently, but when the NFL started free agency in earnest,
Reggie White 90 was a 91, whatever it was,
something like that. Yep. So when you think about that, there were probably people back then having the same conversation. Like when you put on the green and gold, or let me see, Reggie was in Philly and then goes to Green. To
when you put on the green for him,
there you go.
Green and
put
green
on the green, regardless of what flavor it is, Kelly, Forest, etc. You have the chance to do that your entire career. Think about the legacy. Think about those things. And I romanticize it as a fan. I want every player we draft to turn out to be a Pro Bowler who spends their entire career in purple like you did, right?
Yep.
But that clearly is not the case. But at a college sports level, you think about that legacy, and then you do think about how many NFL players even get a second contract?
Right.
And
very few.
We're all appreciative of C.J. Ham's time here, and you think about his career arc, made a damn nice career for himself, right? That ain't the norm.
No.
And a lot of these guys disappear, and especially like Senior Bowl going on right now in the draft. I'm going to have some awful opinion on a defensive tackle that I just think is just a bona fide stud for the Vikings, and he's going to end up in the UFL in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, the idea of legacy, man, he could be one of the best Gophers of all time.
Yep. To
the livelihood, he might be 27 and working for an insurance agency.
Yep.
Get that money while the money's available, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a hard thing to understand because we don't like it, and all we should be mad at is the people that controlled this thing. And the NCAA not putting a stamp on this thing 10 years ago when all those rumblings are coming out and the lawsuits are starting to hit, say, let's put some rules and parameters around this that make some sense.
Right.
And so it always comes down to bad leadership, good or bad leadership. And in this case, I think the powers that be that controlled college sports tried to fight this narrative of we're never going to let kids have any NIL stuff. We're going to control it. It's us. Okay, well, if you wouldn't have fought that so hard and started building structure around it, I think things become a lot easier. Now, I think we can all agree that maybe the bigger issue here is the ability to transfer year after year after year, jump into the next check to the next check to the next check. In some ways, it's a better market than the NFL. You're not signing 3 to 5 year deals. You're signing 1 year deals, and you jump into 4 teams in 4 years. That's happening.
Yeah.
Now you're pulling kids out of the G League to go play college basketball for a big number. It just because there's no rules in place, and so be mad at the structure or lack thereof. And pray or hope that somebody gets involved, hopefully not our government, because they know they've gotten involved and Congress has an opinion and all these kind of things because of the lawsuits that gets involved. It's like you wish the powers that be at the time would have put some parameters around it. Now, I mean, I'm dealing with my own child, right? With Madden going to college next year. You're talking about the NIL stuff. You're talking about revenue sharing, all this stuff. And I think
it's trickling down to even high school now.
Trickling into high school. Like Minnesota is an open market in high school when it comes down to NIL. So, like, you have those things that are happening.
Man, I got to get Ava and Stella rolling here.
You got to get them going. Work on that left hand, man. And you...
this is not helping sports parent culture, by the way.
No, you want to talk about exacerbating the problem. I mean, it's exacerbating the issue with youth sports and the spend that people think they're going to go get that check. And in reality, in some cases, it's happening, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. I mean, the way and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, why? I mean, again, am I really going to hire an agent for my 18-year-old kid? Well, I didn't think I needed to until I saw the contract that got sent to me. I mean, that's what's happening, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of parents are out there saying, now my kid's going to sign something that I have no understanding, right? I'm not an attorney. I don't have any background in that. Right, I'm a lay farmer that played football.
Yeah.
Right, and all of a sudden you're going to go.
You're just trying to get a franchise tag from Rick.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you get this contract. I'm like, what? And it's not an indictment on Kentucky. It's not an indictment on anything other than the situation of where we're at.
Yeah.
So, like, if you don't get some version of representation that can read and understand that, you're having your kids sign something you don't know that's going to set them up for the next 4. And again, it still comes down to. And Coach Ferentz at Iowa said this the best, and I'm assuming it's the same way here with Coach Fleck, is you can still build around culture and guys. You can still have success around the right guys that want to be there, that aren't willing and looking to jump to a check. I think that's still real in football in a lot of cases, in a lot of places. You know, you're going to have the Coy Periches are going to pop up, but for the most part, the majority of your roster is thinking that way. Like, I want to be a gopher. I want to be here. I'm not looking to jump to the next check.
And that's the foundation of the program.
And that's the foundation of the program. Yeah. And Coach Ferentz said that to me 3 years ago and asked him, like, what are we going to do here? He's like, well, I mean, you're going to want to be a Hawkeye. You're going to want to stay here, and you're going to play for what we're doing. And again, if you ascend to be this guy that's going to go collect a big check somewhere else that we can't afford, then those guys are going to exist. But for the most part, this is who we are. Now, college basketball to me is a completely different world. Smaller roster sizes, less to take care of. You know, obviously you get a high profile guys and be jumping all around. To me, if you can solve that transfer, allowing multiple transfers year after year after year with no change in head coaching and no change in opportunity, to me, that would be the way to build the structure to start it, to create some continuity for these clubs. And the kids right now that are going to be affected the most are high school kids that are being recruited, because universities aren't even looking to high school kids. The college men's game is like, they're not even recruiting high school boys unless you're a blue blood top tier. I mean, that's just unfortunately the reality.
Well, you're the best, man. I appreciate you shining, giving some insight on that and hanging out on a Friday morning. Again, a potpourri-like conversation on Football Feast Friday. That's Chad Greenway. Thank you, Chad, on a weekly basis, hanging out 9 to noon. Just a small ode to a former Viking around the corner before we get to Gorgie at 10 o'clock. It's Nordo in for PA right here on the Fan.
Bonus Box is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. It's every hour from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Dial keywords and learn more at KFAN.com.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. Nordo in for PA. Just seeing some news here. Brett, You found something. I don't know if you have the post up. Who did you first see reporting it this morning in relation to the baseball team?
I saw Gleeman post it first.
Okay. Aaron Gleeman of The Athletic, theathletic.com, one of the best.
But since then, the Twins have confirmed it on their X accounts, and the tweet reads as follows.
Yeah, give me that.
The Minnesota Twins today announced that the club and former president, baseball and business operations, Derek Falvey, have mutually agreed to part ways. Executive President and General Manager Jeremy Zoll will continue leading the Twins baseball department. Executive Chair Tom Pohlad will assume interim oversight of the club's business operations. And they go on to list Falvey's accomplishments and stats during his time with the Twins. But that's it. Falvey out of your Minnesota Twins.
Okay. Well, I know I might have to. I'm jumping on the phone right now. I apologize for pausing. Because basically my original plan was to give an ode to a former member of the Minnesota Vikings stepping his way up in his coaching career. But Derek Falvey. Now Thad Levine leaves a couple years ago, and the malaise around the baseball team, and it stinks too, because there are so many great people, like just having we had Derek Shelton in, new Twins manager just last week, and Shelton's a guy that I want to root for. And I love Mitch, and I love Dustin, and I love so many people over there, but the team is just in an awful spot. And the dark cloud hanging over the ownership. We're going to sell, but actually, no, we're not. And we're excited to not be selling, and we're going to add these mysterious secondary partners to the whole mix and put some fresh eyes on things. And you hear some news. It sounds like some agreement was made within the last couple of days with Joe Ryan. So you're digging that. Positivity, people to root for your hometown 9 in 2026. Eddie Julian, I believe, though, sent packing. Maybe that was as recent as yesterday. But just kind of what the hell this thing's going to look like in 2026 in putting the baseball team together. And Derek Falvey really kind of headmanning this charge, of course. And you mentioned it is all the way back to 2016. When he was first hired, is that what you're saying from the Post? I thought it was 2017 or 2018.
October 2016, he was named President of Baseball Operations in 2019.
2019, excuse me. Okay. A little title change, fancier business card. Good for him. So we're
office bigger a little bit.
So we're gonna dig into this, and I got Johnny Athletic joining at 11, focusing mostly on hoops, but maybe we can get some thoughts from him as well. But we will now, because we're up against it, we're just going to pause. And so Derek Falvey and the Twins mutually agreeing to part ways. Significant news for the Minnesota Twins and the fan base as well. We'll dig more into that over the course of 9 to noon. But when we return, big news for the Minnesota Wild. 4-1 winners over Calgary last night at Grand Casino Arena. Kevin Gorg was on site, and we're going to chat some hockey and maybe his favorite football team and some Super Bowl bits around the corner as the 10 a.m. hour gets started. It's Nordo in for PA, 9 to noon.